Hey guys, Budcat7 here. Okay, it is Thursday, January 20th, 2022. I'd like to thank you for visiting the Stonewall Research channel here on YouTube. I really do appreciate it. All right, guys, well, I want to do this video on nutrition, sort of alternative nutrition, but, basically like a nutrition 411. And the reason why I want to do it is because what I've suggested in a previous video is something that mainstream nutrition scientists, medical science says is not possible. But I don't really believe that. So, and I think I'm qualified to talk about it because I was a bodybuilder at one time, and I lived with the estranged wife of the Guinness Book World Record strongest man in the world, who was a bodybuilder and a strength trainer. And that must say something about me. But I was a pretty big boy. And if you would have seen me in the past, you would have said, wow, and you were interested in working out or becoming physically fit through weight training, then you'd probably see me and say, hey, I want to do what that guy's doing. So I have some experience with this, and so I like to talk about these alternative um, sort of ideas that are not really talked about much, although there are other people who say that your body can tell you what nutritional supplements you might need, provided by the foods that you eat. But there certainly is a lot of science to suggest this nowadays. And although the old guard is still clinging to a lot of these old ideas, new research and greater understanding of related things um, is just totally, putting that all to rest. So I wanted to read a couple of articles that mainstream has done and sort of tear them apart, like I've done so many times before on my channel, and sort of, put these people in their place because, these things are either, completely um, wrong in their premise, or you're completely sophomoric in their sort of methods that they use and approaches that they use. I could certainly, I'm not a trained medical scientist or anything, but I lived with my uncle who was a doctor, and I read so many different medical magazines. I could tell you a bunch of stuff about all sorts of medical stuff. I couldn't tell you how to operate on a subdural hematoma or a neural fibroma or something like that. But, I do know a lot about a lot of different things, and nutrition is one of them. But this sort of mind, stomach, or body relationship with what we eat and what we need to eat, I think is certainly something worth talking about. So I'm going to read you a bunch of stuff that I talked about before, but it sort of gets a little bit more in depth. And after we read a bunch of these things, then you'll tell me if these sort of mainstream articles that we're going to look at have any validity or not, or they just, what's their agenda, or are they just completely stupid, or who knows what? Certainly possibly could be true. It seems that as time goes on, we seem to be more ignorant and less informed because we're busy being told what to think instead of how to think. So some of these sort of mainstream academics could say, wait a second, I don't agree with that. And, hey, you can't kick me out of university just because I don't believe in that. And here's something, and take a look at the facts. So let's get into a little bit, because I think, people should understand that, obviously anybody who's eating something that's, has very strong spices in it, hot stuff and whatnot, immediately knows right away, because they're scalp starts tingling and starts sweating, and you can feel how that food reacts right away when you eat it. And obviously, anybody who's drank any alcohol or taking any pills that are stronger than an aspirin know that you take those things and you can feel the effects of it, in a relatively short period of time. Sometimes, right away. So, is there something to it? Of course there is. Just, any sort of notion that there isn't something to um, the notion that, your body somehow, and the relationship between your body and your mind, helps you pick things to eat. And one of the reasons I want to do this video as well is because I get inspired by the people who come into my store. I work at this major, national convenience store. So it's filled with things to eat from top to bottom. But how many times have people walked in and looked through the place, and somehow whatever it is that they want, we don't have it? Or we may be out of it. A girl came in yesterday and she wanted tuna and mac salad. We haven't gotten it in a while, but it's one of the things that we carry, but we haven't got it, so we didn't have it. But there's tons of other things to eat there. There's plenty to choose from, but she didn't want anything else. So I said to her, I said, "What are you craving? You're craving the tuna and mac." I said, "You probably need to eat some fish." So, I said, "Why don't you, get some of these tuna fish, like snack tuna fish and cracker things that we sell in the store." So, but she didn't want that. But, it may have been that, her body was telling her that she needed to eat whatever it was in the tuna and mac. And that's what she needed to eat. And she needed to eat it right now. Okay. So here's something that, mainstream challenges and poo-poos and says it couldn't possibly be, but I say differently. All right. And so I'm not the only one to say anything about it, but it seems, like common sense, some of these things. I think one of the problems is some of these concepts are overanalyzed and over researched, and, just overthinking these things, and it's just not necessary when you just think about the sort of, simple mechanics of what's going on. But here's the brain stomach connection, the brain and stomach connection. Brain has a direct effect on the stomach and intestines. For example, the very thought of eating can release the stomach's juices before food gets there. This connection goes both ways. A troubled intestine can send signals to the brain, just as a troubled brain can send signals to the gut. Okay, so could it be, that this sort of, brain gut relationship, or brain gut mind, is thinking about what it is necessary that you need to eat, and it's suggesting this to you, and this is what comes up as cravings. But when they talk about cravings, they're sure to insist that it couldn't possibly be your body talking to you. And of course, the scientific community, the nutritional science community, they want you to believe that, you should listen to what they say. Don't listen to what your body is telling you, because first of all, that's nonsense, and you need to listen to what we tell you what to eat. And, as long as you listen to us, you'll remain in good health, etc., etc. But, the fact that our population is suffering from all sorts of maladies doesn't bear that out very much now, does it? So, but these studies, and this is from Harvard Health, and there's plenty of other studies from just tons of research on this. Okay, it's like there's none. Okay, but you can see in mainstream psychology reporting or whatever that you do some very sophomoric stupid tests, and they're not adequate, and we'll see why. And, they claim, automatically, well, this is ridiculous, it's not, this is what it is, so, but it's not that. And, they want control over your nutrition, and you shouldn't have any, you see. So let's take a look again. And just before that, you have to realize too, who are they testing? Who are the test subjects here? Well, it's people in modern day society. So, is there too much choice? I mean, over choice, okay. Cognitive impairment, in which people have difficult time making a decision when faced with many options. Okay, is this something that these people are suffering from? How do we gauge these tests? That they give, and psychological tests, etc. So, in any case, let's take a look again at killer whales who are eating white sharks, but they're only eating certain parts of them. Okay, so killer whales are extremely intelligent. They have many more folds, like 5 times the amount of folds in their brains. Their brains seem to be very much more developed, or at least on par with our own. And, very intelligent, etc., etc. Why are they making these choices? Okay, so you're eating a certain part of an animal, but not the rest of it. Is that how we eat animals? We seem to eat a lot of the animals, and because we're hungry. And why are these animals only eating certain things? Okay, and besides liver and heart and testes, as this article states, they're eating the tongue and face area of just whales in general, because they are killer whales, right? So they go after whales. They like to eat the tongue, but they have no interest in the rest of the carcass. Okay, and I've gone over on this channel in my previous video about, can you hear what your body is telling you, which is, mainstream denies that this is possible at all, even though we just showed you this. But they say no. I don't think nobody knows what they're talking about, because these studies should be interdisciplinary, but they're not. And that's a problem. But as I stated in this video here, can you hear what your body's telling you? These organ meats, these are the things that the predatory animals on our planet eat. They don't generally eat the muscle meat. This is the meat with the least nutritional value. All the organs in the body, other than the intestines, filled with the waste, which they don't touch. They eat the rest of the organs, and they know that it has the most nutrition. Okay, and this is what provides the most nutrition for them. All these different organs in the animal are the places where the compounds, nutritional compounds, and minerals and vitamins are that you need. And unfortunately, and even though I took a lot of supplements in my day, and I still believe in vitamins and supplements, but only take you so far. Most of your nutritional needs are going to come from the foods that you eat, and for good reason. These artificial compounds they make are not the same, even though under an electron microscope the compound and molecular structure of it looks similar and all this kind of stuff. It's not exactly the same as the natural compound. It just isn't. It doesn't have exactly the same properties, and no imitation can do it. And the medical community are big on telling you about how fake food is better for you than real food, right? And you believe that, right? Whatever, Cool Whip is better than, Ready Whip, because, it's some sort of weird, sugary, sweet plastic foam that you put on food and eat it, and it's much better for you, especially if you have certain kind of problems. But why do you have those problems to begin with? Probably because your diet was no good, is no good, right? So you can't have the ready whip with all that cream and fat and everything. The people who I guess aren't, intolerant, lactose intolerant people. So what is it about the killer whale going after these certain organs in the white sharks that they rip apart here? And how do they know how to do it? They seem to be using a certain technique to do it, and they're extremely smart animals. What makes them make these choices? Do they go to nutritionist counselor for advice, or who's telling them these things? This is what you need to eat: liver, heart, and testes. Okay, what do they contain? Well, certainly the nutritional chemical compounds that are just amazing, full of them, full of vitamins and minerals and all kind of stuff, as we learned about already through my other video. All right, so let's read about it a little bit. Killer whales that attack great whites off the coast of South Africa to eat their livers also ate the hearts of two of the sharks and the testes of one male. A scientist who helped perform post-mortems on 6 sharks that washed up on the shores of Gans Bay, about 2 hours from Cape Town, described how they had been physically ripped open, quote unquote, by the whales in a precise and refined, quote unquote, way. Marine biologist Alison Towner says the whales, which are also known as orcas, tore the majority of the shark skins just below the throat in order to create a cavity from which the liver, weighing up to 180 pounds, would slide out. She discussed the autopsies and attacks in an appearance on the YouTube channel Shark Talk, hosted by Gemma Care. Great white sharks generally, she said, are not known for washing up dead after attacks and rarely become available for scientific study. It was really just a shock and disbelief when we heard there's another large, virtually adult white shark on the beach with its liver ripped out, she told Care. And there's the video, I guess. I didn't watch it. I'm just reading the article. That's all I need. There have been reports of killer whales attacking sharks off the South African coast since 2017. Initially, scientists reported the discovery of deceased 7-gill sharks washing up with their livers removed. However, other species, including great whites, were also targeted. Researchers eventually linked the attacks to 2 killer whales that had been seen in the area. It is thought the killer whales removed their livers, as this is a hugely nutritious organ. Okay, so again, did their nutritionist tell them that? How do they know it? It's just DNA, just triggers them to eat livers out of sharks and open up in a certain area so you get them out, and how they figure that out and everything. Well, these animals are highly intelligent. They're going to figure it out, and this is what they want to eat, and, just because it tastes good. Well, apparently they're eating specific things. So, the rest of it is no good. All that meat and everything, just going to leave that alone? Well, yeah, for some reason. Okay. The first shark Towner and colleagues examined still had its liver, but it was covered with razor marks. It was the day after 2 killer whales had come through, and no one at that point was willing to make the call that it was possibly orca, she said. They called in shark expert Malcolm Smale to consult on the next case they had, and he soon made the link with killer whales, which were later confirmed by an orca expert in New Zealand. Towner said the autopsies on the great whites took hours to perform, with the team meticulously taking measurements from each part of the shark. Then in we go to establish if there are any signs of trauma that meant you could discount orca predation, she told Care. Any boat injuries, fishing lines, trauma that could have been the cause of the death. When the animal's lying there with its 60-kilo liver ripped out, it's pretty obvious. Towner said that she has no background in killer whales, so had to do a lot of reading and speak to experts on the species. It's clear to see that wherever they are in the world, they've learned hunting strategies that are so precise and refined and taught to their young, she said. testes removed. These injuries on the great whites were identical to those on the seven gills in False Bay in that the animals were physically ripped open, Towner explained. Just under the surface of the skin is the perfect place to open up the shark and access and extract the liver, Towner said. I think two of the animals had both the heart removed and one male had his testes removed because they're very close there in the body cavity. We think the two killer whales were learning to get hold of the pectoral fins. We don't know for sure. It's like a ripping motion. The liver, it's oily, very slippery. It would naturally slide out so they could come along and share it. Initially, reports connected to the arrival of killer whales off the coast of South Africa to great whites vanished from areas where they normally gather in large numbers, such as False Bay. Previous research from a marine sanctuary off the coast of San Francisco, where great whites and killer whales both frequent, suggests the latter would leave the area if orca were present. However, in South Africa, it is thought many factors, including overfishing, have contributed to their mystery disappearance. Mary Rowlinson, a marine biologist and manager at the Shark and Marine Research Institute, previously told Newsweek that a number of human practices, including overfishing and pollution, were behind the decline seen in the region. Okay, so I'm not going to read any more of this. It's not necessarily going to talk about the ecological problems and all that kind of stuff, which I'm sure we have. It's not going to be solved by us at all or right away or anything. We consume a lot of junk and we leave a lot of waste. Okay, so something's telling these sharks to eat precisely these things from these different animals. Okay, they're not eating the whole animal. And why isn't that happening? Okay, well, these animals, whoever they are, land animals, aquatic animals, are eating the things that they consider choice and necessary for their survival. Okay, and they're not just eating machines. They're going after specific things. Okay, and what is telling them to do this? And it's more demonstrated with the elephants that apparently eat dirt to supplement the sodium in their diets. Okay, so, and the reason why I'm giving these particular animals, the highlight here is because they have brains that are most similar to our own. And, not only the size of them, but the structure of the brains are very similar. Okay, so, and we know that elephants are very intelligent, hence the phrase, elephants never forget. And with any of this behavior, it's hard to gauge exactly, how their thinking works precisely because there never was a time, and this is one of the things, that sort of you have to argue with these mainstream articles here, is that we grow up in an environment where food has already been provided for us. All the certain foods that we need to eat or whatever have been selected for us or previously by the generations before us. We grow, born, our parents feed us all these certain foods. Well, it's already there. There can be no place where you go back in time where you say, well, they were making decisions to eat certain foods because they had no other choices or, whatever it might be, which seems ridiculous. It, doesn't seem that way at all. It's just that simultaneously we are living in environments that provide food to us. And whenever we're born already with all that knowledge already contained, all right, from some previous generation. There is no original generation. All these things happen simultaneously and in real time. Okay, there's no afterthought or forethought or anything like that. The foods are available in the environment and our parents provided for us. If there ever was a first time that ever happened or whatever, that's nonsense. That never occurred, okay? these things seem to go together hand in hand. Okay, where this doesn't seem like there'd be any poisonings or anything like that, because you have no need to eat those things. You're already provided for. All right. How do you separate that? It's the chicken and egg concept. All right. In all of these cases, like many large herbivores, African and Asian elephants often seek out natural mineral X regions of soil where minerals are concentrated, with important conservation implications. Of course, we want to conserve those areas for the elephants to go back to for their nutritional needs, right? So that's what they're saying here. Now, data collected by Earthwatch teams that worked in Huang, Huang, Huang National Park, Zimbabwe, provides strong ecological, physiological, and behavioral evidence for the function of this behavior. Okay, it's from Earthwatch here. In a recent article in the Journal of Mammalogy, Dr. Joseph Dudley and his colleagues investigate the role of geophagy, literally eating dirt, quote unquote, by elephants to supplement low sodium levels in food and water supplies. Dudley, currently a conservation specialist working with headquarters U.S. Army in the Pentagon, was principal investigator of the Earthwatch-supported project, the Elephant Factor, in 1997 and 1998. He surprised scientists in 1996 with the first ever published scientific reports of carnivory by hippos, a phenomenon further documented by his Earthwatch teams. This is very interesting. This work provides insights into the patterns and intensity of mineral lick used by African bush elephants, said Dudley. This is an important phenomenon whose physiological and social dimensions merit much further study and elucidation. That's right, because what is driving these elephants to make that choice all of a sudden out of nowhere? They just say to themselves, all right, it's time for us to go and do this. And when did they start doing that? Well, it's impossible to gauge that. Okay, they certainly are very intelligent, and something tells them is it something in their DNA that all of a sudden clicks, and they go going for this, or they make that as just a conscious decision to do and find is necessary. All right, and this is the thing, something is telling them that. Okay, and if you believe this, all these studies were done. The brain has direct effect on the stomach and intestines. Okay, and vice versa. Okay, well then it makes a lot of sense. All right. This work provides insights into the patterns and intensity of mineral lick used by African bush elephants. Okay, so we read that already. I don't want to read it again. Scientists have long hypothesized that elephants use salt licks to supplement an insufficient dietary intake of sodium, but conclusive verification has been lacking. The Journal of Mammalogy papers uses several lines of evidence to test the hypothesis, from examining mineral content of available plants in the soils consumed by the elephants to observing patterns of salt lick use. The scientists found that, unlike other minerals, sodium in woody plants and natural water supplies may be inadequate to meet the minimum requirements of elephants. The soils consumed by elephants had higher levels of sodium than other soils in the area, but did not differ in terms of other minerals. Among the significant findings, female elephants consumed more mouthfuls of soil out salt licks and spent more time feeding on soil than males. This suggests that geophagy is driven by nutritional requirements, which tend to be greater in females due to pregnancy and lactation. The scientists also report that soil eating is more intense in individuals that had a lower level of sodium in their dung, consistent with a dietary sodium deficiency. I believe that is the first sodium study to link physiology in the form of sodium loss in dung with the behavior of soil consumption, said Ricardo Hall, Princeton University, the lead author of the paper and a former field assistant to the Elephant Factor Project. This is important for the management and conservation because it tells us about the habitat and food requirements of elephants. Although these findings do not rule out the possibility that elephants use salt licks for some dietary need not measured, they are the strongest support yet for the sodium supplementation hypothesis. The study suggests that sodium supplementation may be an important tool for managing elephant populations and their impact on food resources. It's all about us and how we're going to manage them. But Nobody goes and says to themselves, well, why are they making this decision? And how are they making this decision? What is telling them to do this? All right, something is obviously telling them to do this. Okay, is it something in their body that's telling them to do this? Well, that's what it certainly seems like by what they're saying. Okay, that's why it says they have to study it more and elucidate it more, because there's no explanation for it other than that. Okay, but they're going to try to explain it away because they see animals still in a way that Mark Twain sort of was disgusted by and repulsed by the vivisection of animals, because since those times, they felt that animals were like machines. They didn't feel pain or anything. They didn't have any emotions or feelings like we do. So you could just go ahead and dissect them while they're just wide awake. Okay, and obviously these animals yelped and everything, was suffering from pain, but the scientists, quote unquote, refused to believe it, and they're still stuck on that. Okay, to a certain degree, but not everybody is. Okay. Okay, so one of the things that you have to understand about nutrition as well is mindfulness. Okay, so mindful eating, okay, is an approach to food that focuses on individuals' sensual awareness of the food and their experience of the food. It has little to do with calories, carbohydrates, fat, or protein. And they're always making these distinctions because they want to hide how powerful you are as a being from you, okay? They want control of you, okay? These things can't possibly be happening because they're going to tell you, okay? You simply have to ingest things that have certain elements in them and compounds and vitamins and minerals, and that's all there is to it. Which it doesn't seem that way when you look at all these animal species who are designed to eat certain things. Okay, it doesn't suggest that at all. Okay, so it suggests more to the notion that we have to eat certain things. Okay, why shouldn't it be us too? Why shouldn't something be speaking to us too about what we have to eat? All right, so somehow, whereas the animals are somehow getting the message from their body, we're not. Okay, and here's the point that I'm trying to make with these behavioral studies and nutritional studies of these animals. Okay, they know somehow this is what they need to eat, and they need to eat it whenever it is that they need to do it. Okay, and we certainly could be the same exact way, although we don't practice it. And there's so many articles on mindfulness and nutrition that go way beyond what was just said there. They're using that, okay? About mindful eating relies on mindful. This is one from wherever, Healthline. Is a form of meditation. Mindful eating is about developing awareness of your experiences, physical cues, okay? There's more to it. Okay, I don't want to go into this part of it because I want to get to these articles so you can look at how ridiculous and absurd their contentions are. All right, it's obviously food can heal us. Okay, if we're able to hear what our body is saying to us, if we're able to have this mindfulness and feel our food reacting, you see, our problem is we have an abundance of food choices, okay, whereas people in the past did not have this abundance of food choices. Okay, they ate certain foods that they could grow, etc., etc. In the same way that you can feel any sort of aspirin or alcohol, whatever you ingest or eat hot foods and feel a tingly feeling on your scalp and sweating on your scalp when you eat real hot foods, okay, all the other foods that you eat have the same reaction in your body, although you probably can't feel them. All right. And people who mostly can feel these things are the people, unfortunately, that are starving. So it's kind of hard to do a study with people. You're asking them to, you know, do some kind of self harm to themselves first and then engage in some sort of study or something like that. Well, that's impossible. That's not going to be able to be done. But certainly, people who have been deprived of nutrition or lack nutrition or have some sort of deficiencies in vitamins through because of starvation, but their bodies have a memory of what they ate in the past. When they finally do, many people say when they consume something, they can feel it, whatever generating heat in their bodies, coursing through their bodies. And some of these things that I know I've experienced as well, eating some foods, nutritional foods that I get those feelings from. Now, I was just recently sick with this C thing, right? I've been sick for like 3 weeks. I even had a bacterial infection, a lung infection. And you can probably saying, Bugcat, you're crazy. You're screwing with things or whatever. But I firmly believe that my body is capable of repairing itself 100% and warding off any other germs or whatever simply by creating the correct key to negate these things. Okay, we have all the animals out there don't get near as many of the illnesses and maladies that we do. They eat the things that are specific in their diets. All right. My own grandmother, who grew up on a farm and ate a lot of fresh food, was the longest lasting grandparent. All three other grandparents from New York here ate a bunch of processed crap and all died, some prematurely. Okay, my grandmother from Washington State, who lived on a farm and ate fresh everything, lived the longest. It's as simple as that. Proof right there in front of my own eyes. All right, and mindful eating, you should really consider that when you're eating your food. We eat all way too fast. Our attention spans are so short. Okay, it has everything to do with nutrition here. Okay, and I was able to make myself feel a lot better by eating the foods that I was feeling that I needed to eat. And in one of these studies, they make a statement that's completely contrary to what I experience whenever it is that I need to do this, usually when I'm not feeling well. Okay, and there's a lot about, okay, food as medicine. Okay, it's not a crazy idea or anything. Let's take a look at one of these foods with powerful medicinal properties. All right, berries, cruciferous vegetables, fatty fish, mushrooms, spices, herbs, green tea. How many times have I gone over in this channel? What did the people in the past know? A lot more than we think. Okay, they were fish farmers predominantly. This is what we've been discovering. Okay, with all the satellite photographs and canals and fish farms all over the place on ancient fish farms on this planet. Okay, fatty fish, powerful medicinal properties. Okay, I felt that I needed to eat fish when I was sick. Okay, I ate fish when I was sick. That's not often my first food choice. Okay, but more and more lately I've been choosing fish. And not only that, because a lot of the research I've done here, okay, seems to be among the healthiest foods. If you get stuff that isn't poisoned up with a lot of, you know, poisons, but, and, fresh too, without a lot of the worms in them and all that kind of stuff. But our bodies can fight all of these things with the proper nutrition because, not only do plants and spices and things like this have nutritional benefits, but not so much as some of these plants are digestive aids. So you have to remember that the people who are on the side of, you know, they're anti-vegetarian and pro, protein, all meat diets, everything. I think either side is too extreme. Right? It seem to be designed, and all these animals that we've been eating too were designed specifically for our diets. And all the domestic animals, if you look at it, the simple fact of it. Okay, these animals are designed for us to eat by us or somebody in the past who was screwing around with genetics. So certainly us too. We may have been designed that way, not of our own choosing. Right? We've only been around for 200,000 years. We popped up out of nowhere 200,000 years ago, right? There's no link, right? There's the missing link, right? There's no link there. Right? We popped up out of nowhere. Well, people were screwing around with popping corn 80,000 years ago, according to the federal government. All right? Popping corn looks like just like regular corn, who they say was invented 8 or 9,000 years ago. It's impossible. 80,000 years ago. Somebody was toying around with genetics in the past. It's the only explanation. But food is medicine. All right? This is from the University of Minnesota. Okay? In many medical systems, such as traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, or Native American, food has always been an important way to treat illness and maintain health. Little by little, more traditional medical institutions and environments are recognizing the legitimacy and importance of these approaches. Yeah, finally coming to their senses about things. An increasing number of studies provide evidence for the preventative or curative properties of certain foods, as well as the effects of utilizing food and diet as part of a comprehensive approach to health. For example, garlic is often used in the U.S. for its ability to lower cholesterol and serum triglycerides, also used topically to kill bacteria and fungus. Green tea is a good source of antioxidants which can protect cells, tissues, and cellular components from damage by so-called reactive oxygen species. Some studies suggest that ginger may be an effective treatment for nausea. There are many other plants that contain protective disease-preventing compounds known as phytochemicals. Often it is important to eat the whole plant, as the skin or outer hull contains nutrients and fiber that offer significant health benefits. That's right, including with the meats too, like eating certain skins or whatever it is. Okay? And beneficial fats. Okay, you can see here from plants and fish, and minimize saturated animal fats. Okay, fish, important disease fighting products. This is from the University of Minnesota. Okay, so let's look at a couple of absurd things here. Like, how did early humans know what to eat? This whole idea is absurd. Like I said, you go in simultaneously come up in an environment where food choices have already been made for you. There's no going back to the first food choices there where somebody said, should I eat this or should I eat this? Or is this safe to eat? Or I don't know. There's no such thing, okay? Stretching back as far as possibly could be in time. Human beings grow up in the environment where things are to eat. It's already provided for you by the time you're born by your parents. Simple as that. Okay? Whenever these decisions were made, we're so far in the ancient past. It's like incredible what it must be. All right? It's not like that. You grow up in environments where the food choices have already been provided for you. There is no going back in time to the first time. But meanwhile, they say in this article, I'm not going to read it all to you, about how it's partially instinct and through observation, and this is why I say learned behavior and all kind of stuff. So, it's observation, and this is the explanation why all the different food choices, I guess, were picked or whatever. How can you ever know that? It's impossible. I just told you why can't be known. This is all guesses, complete 100% guess on their part. Okay, trial and error. Okay, natural selection. Okay, this is all nonsense. Okay, you cannot determine this. See, similarly, during the age of exploration, many legendary explorers and their crews became sick and died, often after eating the native plants. Without the regional knowledge or a local guide, they lacked the learned behavior that would keep them safe in that area. Well, you're eating the native plants. Well, why would you just decide to eat native plants out of nowhere? What a dummy. Who would do that? They lack the learned behavior or whatever. They lack any understanding of nature and the symbiosis there. Okay, like the people that they came and found over there had this complete relationship with the land, knew what they needed to grow and knew what they needed to eat. All right. It's ridiculous what they say. The whole premise of it is nonsense. There's no way to determine that. Okay, every human being that's ever been born had all their food choices already selected for them previously to them being born. Right? Their whole contention here is complete nonsense. Just nonsense. Okay. What do food cravings mean? Fact and myth explained. Okay. Food cravings are very common. They're difficult to ignore and typically manifest through an intense or urgent desire for a specific type of food. Though the food desire will vary from person to person, food cravings can be brought on by a variety of factors, be it physical or mental. In certain cases, they may also be a sign of underlying condition that should not be ignored. This article dives into what your food cravings may mean, as well as the possible reasons behind them. Possible causes for your cravings. Food cravings can be caused by several factors, which can usually be split into two main categories: physical and mental. Being aware of them may help you identify which factors specifically trigger your cravings. Physical causes: leptin and ghrelin imbalances. An imbalance in these hunger and fullness hormones may cause certain people to experience more food cravings than others. So, just these hormones, okay? It has nothing to do with you're getting the right vitamins there or anything. But could it be? What are they saying here? Pregnancy, hormonal changes in pregnancy may influence your smell and taste receptors, in turn causing you to experience more intensified cravings. Pre-menstrual syndrome, the changes in the hormones estrogen and progesterone that occur right before your period may intensify cravings, especially for carb-rich foods. Lack of sleep, too little or poor quality sleep can disturb your levels of hormones responsible for regulating hunger, fullness, and sleep-wake cycles, possibly intensifying food cravings, especially in the evenings. A nutrition-poor diet. Nutrients like protein and fiber can help you feel full. A diet that's low in these nutrients may cause you to feel hungry or experience cravings, even if you have otherwise eaten enough calories. Poor hydration, ingesting too little fluids can intensify feelings of hunger or cravings in some people. Your gut flora, there's some evidence that the type of bacteria present in your gut may influence the frequency and type of cravings you may have. However, more research is needed to confirm this link. Oh, wow, really? Okay. Physical activity, an increase in your level of physical activity, even if just by walking more, may help reduce food cravings. Similarly, moving less than you usually do may cause you to experience more food cravings. Highly processed foods. There is some evidence that highly processed foods rich in added fat and sugar may cause addiction-like symptoms, in turn possibly increasing cravings. Frequency at which you eat the craved foods. Eating a craved food less frequently may be more effective at reducing a craving for that particular food than eating a small portion of that food whenever you crave it. Mental causes. Stress can increase your levels of hormone cortisol. High cortisol levels may be linked to hunger cravings and higher likelihood of stress or binge eating behaviors. Your personality. Some evidence suggests that people who are more impulsive or have higher scores on measures of addictive personality may also have a higher likelihood of experiencing food cravings. Eating context. Your brain can associate eating a specific food to a specific context. For instance, popcorn in a movie. This may cause you to crave that particular food the next time the same context comes around. Your mood. Certain moods may trigger cravings for specific foods. For example, negative moods appear to often spark cravings for comfort foods. Summary. Food cravings can be brought on by a variety of factors, both physical and mental. Being aware of them may help you identify what triggers your food cravings and ultimately help you reduce them. And here's where to get you. Are cravings a sign of nutrient deficiencies? There is a popular belief that cravings are a sign that your body is lacking certain nutrients. Yet, in most cases, this theory is not currently supported by science for a few reasons. For instance, salt cravings may, in some cases, be caused by a sodium deficiency. However, most people who crave salty foods are not deficient in this nutrient. Moreover, based on this nutrient deficiency theory, you would expect that most cravings would be for nutrient-rich, minimally processed foods such as fruits, vegetables, whole grains, or legumes. Yet, in reality, most cravings tend to be for foods with low nutritional value, such as highly processed foods rich in added fat, sugar, or salt. In addition, research suggests that men and women tend to crave different foods. For instance, women are more likely to crave sweet-tasting foods, while men are likely to crave savory ones. But there's little evidence that women would be lacking nutrients more likely to be found in sweet foods, and men would be lacking ones likely to be found in savory food ones. Finally, research suggests that less frequently you eat certain foods, the less likely you are to crave them. However, if cravings were initiated by a low intake of these foods, you would expect the exact opposite effect to happen. That's right. You would expect that, and here's where they got it all wrong, and here's what proves it all wrong, okay? Because I know myself, all right? And I crave these foods infrequently, and these foods are highly nutritious foods, okay? The fish, and I often crave beets, okay? Beets have certain nutritional qualities to them that other vegetables don't. And for some reason, I crave beets and fish at certain times when I'm not feeling well, all right? But otherwise, I never make those food choices, so they got it all wrong here, all right? I'm going to tell you here, there is current little evidence to support the idea that food cravings are caused by insufficient intake of nutrients contained in said foods. Well, you just heard about the elephants and you know about the sharks, okay? You're trying to say that we as animals or some sort of living creatures don't have any of those latent sort of abilities in us? Well, I think they're wrong, all right? And they also did a test on pregnant women. And this was by psychologists, okay, who should have their degrees stripped from them. All right. The test was they gave them certain kinds of chocolates to choose from to satiate their cravings. And after doing this, they decided that there was no reason to believe that, cravings for a certain kind of foods were for reasons of nutritional value. Okay, so, but was there a control? What was the control? Were these people's endocrinological systems examined? Were they examined for vitamin deficiencies or mineral deficiencies? I mean, there's a lot of things in these studies, and were these studies multidisciplinary? Did they talk to these people about how food is medicine and the gut brain connection and the mindfulness? Okay, all these studies done by all these universities, or did they consult any of these people when they did their study of these people? You're talking about neurotic people who have all these food choices to make, who aren't starving at the moment. Okay, I can tell you, if you're sick or starving or whatever, you're going to make food choices that are going to benefit your body, and your body is going to tell you exactly what you need to eat. Okay. Again, so many times you can stand in front of your refrigerator or in front of your pantry and look at it, and there's all stuff with food in there. And how many times you say to yourself, "There's nothing in here that I want to eat." And why would that be? You have so many food choices there. Are you just suffering from the, over choice? Or is your body trying to tell you that you need something that you need to eat, and you need to eat it now? All right. If it's telling these animals these things, it's certainly telling us these things. But because we have so many different things to choose from, and so many things that may be not specific to the areas our ancestors came from that we're consuming, or our DNA is all mixed up, and we have a hard time with nutrition because of it. All right, all these factors should be considered. All right, but there's certainly a connection between mind and stomach as they've established. All right, so the notion that your stomach and mind are telling you specifically what you need to eat, is that it's not doing that, is quite frankly absurd. All right, who is it in whose interest is it to tell you these otherwise? Well, the people who want to tell you what to eat. Okay, the people are going to tell you fake food is better for you than real food. Okay, I'm sorry, but it's not. Okay, and your diet has to be clean enough, and its frequency has to be in such a way with the foods that you eat and what your body is telling you. And in order to feel the health benefits from it, just like you feel the alcohol when you drink it, just like you feel the pill when you take it, just like you feel the hot foods when you take it right away, every other thing you consume also does something to you. It may be more subtle than these things, but the subtleness of it comes with the mindfulness. Okay. And, okay, it combines together to create the complete nutrition. All right. Don't discount this mind stomach connection and your nutritional needs and what it's trying to tell you. All right. I think everybody's body is capable of controlling whatever is wrong with it by engaging in proper nutritional practices. But so many of these things and these ideas are being, put down and criticized by the academics and medical community. It's a big mistake, because it's just not true. It's not true what they say. Their experiments are sophomoric. They're not doing it in a way that would come up with with proper data to examine. All right, they're doing it in sort of a dismissive way, because they feel like that's impossibility. But I think a lot of people know better. Okay, even if their diets are atrocious. Okay, they know better. Okay, and they know when they've consumed something bad as well, and not exactly what they wanted to eat. And that in itself is bad nutrition. Yeah, the food has benefit to it, whatever you ate, but you didn't enjoy it because it wasn't exactly what you wanted to eat. And that has something to do with the full health benefits of eating foods. Okay, part of the mindfulness as well. Okay, and all these artificial eating times that we stick to as well. Well, that's no good for us either. All right, so I just wanted you guys to think about this, and not listen to what mainstream has to say about it, because I think they're leading you astray. I think what they're giving you is misinformation. I think what they want is control over everybody's dietary choices, and they're going to dismiss any notion that your nutritional choices that you make from your instinct, your gut instinct, right? You heard of that terminology, right? Are improper, right? So I think we can all practice this and have better health, but it takes a bit of sort of mindfulness to do that. So I'm just saying what my own experience is. I'm not suggesting that this is what you should do or anything, but or listen to any of this, but I think you should entertain the idea that your body is capable of instructing you as to what dietary choices you should be making in the real time, okay? And to think otherwise just seems to me to be counterintuitive, okay? I've proven it to myself time and time again. And I think I practice this mindfulness. I think I'm very good at it, okay? When things are bothering me and I'm not feeling well, or I need some energy, or my body tells me what it is that I need. And I've made some food choices and healthy food choices at that. That's when I do feel like I'm being inspired to make some choice, have this quote unquote craving. I make healthy food choices above all, and not these junk food choices. So I've more or less proven it to myself. But anyway, guys, if you like this sort of thing, please do hit the like button. And if you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe. This is just only one of the topics, a sort of alternative nutrition topic that I delve into on my channel, and things that maybe you never even heard about or ever thought about. All right. So anyway, thanks, guys. Please hit the like button. And Bugcat7 is signing out. And peace.